So today I'm here with Patrick from Monks. Patrick, can you please give me an introduction to what you are doing there at the moment?
Of course I can. So my name is Patrick Klebba. I'm an executive creative director at Monks Germany. I am currently in charge of the creative account from our Monks Germany office that are located in Berlin, Munich, and in Stuttgart. I share this together with my ECD partner, who takes over the BMW account.
Okay, and just for people who don't know Monks well, what kind of agency is it? What kind of work do you focus on?
Our work is definitely focused on technology-driven creativity. I mean, it's a huge company with offices all around the world, serving different clients and different needs. We used to come from like a digital production core, so to speak. But I think over the past years, we've developed into like a global operating system that delivers creativity. We're delivering also production offering still, and also a transformation part. But obviously, I'm more the creative person, so everything from campaigns to projects, it's all possible.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been at Monks?
I think it's now almost a little bit more than 2 years, I guess, so not that long.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back to where it all started, like how you got into the creative industry and advertising in the first place. Like, what inspired you?
Um, it, I mean, if you want to go way back, I think it's almost like every origin story kind of starts in childhood. So I think my first inspiration to go into the creative industry was in the 90s in front of a TV. My parents came to Germany in the 80s from Cold War Poland, and also my father and is still the kind of guy who really loved to repair things. So he was repairing the TV stations of his neighbors or our neighbors and his colleagues and friends. So there was constantly a TV running in our home, and I watched a lot of it. A lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, and then obviously in the 90s, without a smartphone, when you watch TV, you also watched ads. So I did that. And I have vivid memories of certain TV spots that I still have in mind that I kind of accuse of having me brought here in a certain way. Because I had this, maybe when I was 14 or something like that, maybe 13, 14, I realized that somewhere there must be somebody sitting having a great time coming up with funny short stories and making a living with it. And I found this quite interesting. But it turned out to be like a chain of events, so to speak, how I then finally got into advertising, like a very long relationship, because then I turned away from advertising a lot and moved to like cultural things. So read a lot of classical literature and was not so interested in advertising anymore. And then it came back again by the end of school, was interested in it again. There actually was a job that was called copywriter that I did not know before, which was super interesting to me. Even took part in a competition of a copywriting school in Hamburg. I think I made like the third or fourth place. I was super proud of it, but did not want to pursue that school somehow for whatever reason. Went to university, so then I was off again from advertising. Went to university, built myself a little cultural studies course, so to speak, with cultural anthropology, art history, and Russian literature. To complete opposite, so to speak, of advertising in a way. And and then it was more like like circumstances that actually brought me into the business, because back in the day, there were two ways of becoming a copywriter in Germany. Either you went to an advertising school, or you studied like me, and then you did not do a degree, left university, and became then a copywriter. And this happened to me more or less. So, more or less at the same time I started my studies, I also started doing poetry slams. which makes me feel like really old right now because this is like literally 20 years ago. So this is uh, good old times. But one time, once I was at a poetry slam, and I think I did quite well. And afterwards, a creative director of an agency in Hamburg asked me if I was interested in an internship, and I needed one anyway for my university courses, the degree that I would not end anyway, and started the internship. 3 months in, they offered me a job. A week later, I realized I ran out of money to finish my degree. And actually, I also ran out of energy a little bit, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know, like 16 maybe years later, I'm here.
Yeah, and
15, I
so
don't know.
yeah, so writing has been your kind of passion along the way. Like copywriting
Yeah,
has been your entrance into this world. Like what?
absolutely. But it was first was writing and reading, obviously, short stories, coming up with your own. It was not like that I loved to write a pun or something like that. But this idea from these TVCs back in the day that I watched was like, you can tell the story in just a very short amount of time, and it can be hilarious or it can be moving or it can be anything. And this kind of stuck with me. But, and to, I have to also be honest that as like many copywriters do, I, for a short period of time, believed that I could internationally successful author, which obviously did not happen. But yeah, so this was the way from writing into copywriting.
Mhm. Well, you still have time. You're not you're not done. And so did you have like any moments like you mentioned you watched TV and you saw some commercials? Did you have a single moment you understood like this is something I want to do or something you remember well back there?
I can from this experience I had in the 90s when I was a kid, I think I can single out two TVCs that did something with me. Because I still remember them, and I, at least with the second one, I still remember how I watched it for the first time. But um, so the first one, where when I realized that people could actually make a living by telling jokes in TV ads, was a Stickers commercial. Um, there's some sort of football game, and the quarterback gets tackled, and everybody gathers around to see if he's okay. And coach, goes to him and just wants to check if he's still able to play or if he has a concussion, and asks him these cognitive questions like, "Hey, do you know where you are?" And the player says, "Oh yeah, football stadium." And, "Do you know who I am?" And the player says, "Hey, coach." And coach says, "Do you know who you are?" And then his face, that's just a completely golden retriever smile, just turns into a very, very angry one. And then he says, "I'm Batman." And coach says, "Okay, bench." And I mean, to this day, I just find this hilariously funny. And this was the moment when I realized you can make a living out of it.
Hmm.
But there was another one that is quite an iconic one to this day. You can, if you don't know it, you should definitely look it up because it is beautiful. Which was a Michael Jordan commercial. I'm lacking a little bit the name of the commercial, but it was a commercial where I also remember that I was sitting in front of the TV on a weekend and watching a basketball TV show on German television. And in the commercial break, you see then Michael Jordan kind of dribbling through a defense and performing his kind of beautiful moves, and it all is in slow motion. And then you cut back and forth to people that watch him do that, and it's also slow motion. Everybody is in awe, and you have a beautiful spherical music to it, and everything is just a beautiful vibe and super elegant and like a hero making. And this really touched me in a way because it was not only the storytelling aspect of it, but it was just, this is so beautiful. It's like an epic told in 30 seconds or 45 or whatnot. And this was like a level of creativity that I think this was kind of unique back in the day, also in German television, to have like an American TVC that really is almost like a piece of art. Because to be honest, if you look at it, it it kind of is.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then it became serious because it was not only funny, aha, let's sell a product. It was also, God damn it, this is like a big epic that
Hmm.
maybe you will also be able to at some point tell and show.
Hmm. And starting out, like, did you have any role models around you in the agency you started out, or like somebody far away that you just looked up to their work?
Don't think that I would be able to name you like international creative stars as role models. I mean, not only because they are very far away, but also because I have a little bit trouble of this idea of a role model. Um, Pretty early on knew that I wanted to be my own version of myself and not trying to be anybody else. I think like most of us do. Um, but I very early on had people around me, and also with the agency I started, they had like a mentorship program more or less. So I was a very, very young and naive text assistant, copy assistant, and then junior copywriter. And I had a senior copywriter that kind of took care of me a little bit. And instead of having like really role models in the industry, to this day, I did not really look at one specific person. I just always observed what the people around me did and how they did it, and ran that through my personal value system to understand, hey, this is something that I actually want to do because I like how that person is doing it. But also having the anti-role model examples, like, no, this is something that I definitely don't want to do in the future, so
Yeah.
let's not do that. Let's do the opposite. But I think observing people and how they do things, not only the results of the work, but especially how they get there, how they present themselves, how they present ideas to clients, but also internally, and how they, yeah, how they just how they treat other people is only really is, you can get only something out of it if you observe it and if you understand what does it mean for you personally or for me personally then, and how I can incorporate this into the way that I want to be as a creative in this industry, regardless of the actual creative results and how you get there. But I got a lot of good tips, sometimes even advice from people that did not want to give me advice just because I observed how they did it and then understood, why I like it or why I don't like
Hmm. Yeah, and like
it. But
going
other than
from,
that,
sorry, please
sorry, yeah,
continue.
because yeah, this question of the role model doesn't really leave me because I think outside of the industry that might be a little bit of a different thing
Hmm.
because there are definitely people that I admire a lot because of the way that they do a specific thing. I really always was a big fan of public speakers or public intellectuals that were really able to talk in a way that everybody could understood what they say, but still being very sharp and very witty about it. Like um, Fran Lebowitz, for example, or I don't know, the late Christopher Hitchens, if somebody still remembers him, that's a little bit older, but people that are really able to um, take complex thoughts and have complex observations and communicating them in a very simple and very charismatic and witty way. I feel small when I think about these people, very, very small. So there's a big admiration, but when it comes to advertising, it was more like a pick and choose.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's also something you probably have to work on yourself when you're pitching ideas. So like presenting something to a client, or you have to really be considerate of like what words do you choose, and especially as a copywriter, like how do you work on this yourself?
You have to talk a lot, right? I mean, what they say, yeah, it's like anything else. If you want to become good at something, you just have to do it over and over and over and over again. You have to get comfortable with these situations. It's the same with writing. To become a great writer just because write into your diary every once in a while. You just have to constantly be writing actually to improve this a little bit. So this is something that is intrinsic. You just have to find the situations where you can talk, so where you can talk publicly. Um, I think with me specifically, it helped a lot that I had these 4 or 5 years of poetry slam experience because, if you have to stand in front of a lot of people that have no, no, they are not responsible for, paying attention, but they can crash your bit every time that they want, right? And then you get applause or you don't. Standing in front of crowds really, really helped me just also talking in front of clients. But I had my little mistakes here and there and some terrible presentations that I did and being super nervous and very, very dry mouth and you almost could not speak and bad presentations. So that's the one thing. You have to just put yourself out there and find the opportunities to talk, and then also accept failure and expect failure, to be honest, because this also helps. All the little crashes that you do, if you learn your lesson from it, will help you to do better than next time. And then the other thing is input, most certainly. I mean, when I said that I really like these public intellectuals, it's really like listening, and also listening how other people talk, and seeing how they do it. But also, and then last but not least, of course, you can get a lot of content about how to speak publicly and how to talk and how to be concise in your message and how to kind of build a chain of thoughts that is complex enough to be interesting, but simple enough to be understandable for everybody. There are a lot of things you can watch on YouTube or find podcasts about strategic communication or about ways to present yourself and to present in front of others. And so, as with many other things, you just have to have your sources of knowledge, and then you have to train. And don't be afraid of failure, because again, I think the moments that I had my worst presentations, I think were the biggest lessons that I ever had. And, it helps.
Yeah, exactly. And I would also like to go over to your work. And is there like a specific project that you put very high up there that you are proud of being a part of?
Recently, or over the course of my whole career?
Like through your whole career?
Yes, I can. I think I can single out one. I hope it's not too complicated to explain, but I will try to do my best. And also, I will, because I want to just, it's about one detail about that project that made me very happy. I hope I can land this more or less smoothly. This is something that is at least 10 years ago. And this was a time where we all used Facebook a lot. It was, not that how it was today, how it is today. It still was a thing also with the youth, other than today. And my art partner and me, we had this idea for a theater here in Berlin, and we were able to collaborate with that theater to make the first theater play that is just performed on Facebook with all the means that Facebook gives you come to life. Like a week before the actual premiere of that very play that we were kind of interpreting in our own way via Facebook. And the beautiful thing about it, why I found this so interesting, is because we had like a Facebook group back in the day. There were, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of people. I don't remember the actual data. But we started seeing how people, while they were waiting for us to start, they started to have conversations in the comments. So suddenly there was just a whole bunch of people all across Germany that came together virtually in the comment section of a Facebook group, starting to behave like this as if they were in the theater, saying, "Oh, excuse me, please, can I have my place is over there, my seat is over there, please, can I make this or that?" And then we realized, and we found this very beautifully, that also throughout the live play that we then performed with the Facebook means, that people were actually kind of making this a part of their own experience and interacting with it and being really keen on being part of that experience, and just seeing that we had an idea that had a live reaction of people that really loved what we were doing was that was very rewarding. I think one of the most and first big emotional rewards of a creative idea that we had. And so seeing what sometimes the stuff that we do, even though that it was born as an advertising idea, made people really adapt and make it, no, not only adapt, but they made it their own kind of. So we had an actual audience, and they helped us to perform. That was really nice. Apart from that, I think like nowadays, and especially in this executive creative director position, I'm still very much into the projects, try to be as hands-on as possible, but it is a different kind of ball game if you have to more oversight about all the projects that are going on. And then obviously you don't want to, take away anything from the creative directors, because that's their job to do the projects, but as an executive, you jump in when it's needed. You make sure that the quality is high, and that the processes work, and so on and so forth. But there are some projects that I've done in the past where I was still very much involved that made me very happy. Um, Also, another one that I really would like to share is that for um, BMW M performance parts, which is just something that you can buy these carbon fiber parts for your BMW and just pimp your car with it a little bit. We made a little social campaign where we found like real people who had these parts, and we went to them and we portrayed them, and it was very close to this production. And we did 4 episodes until now, and I was part of all of them and talked to these people. I made the interviews with these BMW and performance parts fans. And this was something that was also very rewarding to me, not only because of the content that we then actually produced and published, but also these connections and seeing what the people actually feel in connection with their brand and their car was something that, I mean, it sounds cringy when I say this as a creative from the creative industry, oh, our brand's actually doing something for the people and they make people feel something. But if you have these really regular people that whose dream it is to own a car like that and to make it unique like that, and you hear their pretty humble stories, down to earth stories, and you realize that where they come from, what this means to them, just was very rewarding. And we had some really, I mean, you only see very, very small glimpse of what they actually said in the interviews, but the whole stories that I had with them were just really tear-jerking stuff, very, very heartwarming, and a beautiful experience to just be so close to the actual people who's who you want to talk to in the first place, because that's my job, to do communication and to ads that reach these people, these people, and that it works. That was very nice. Human experience. I think if you put 2 and 2 together, I mean, these 2 ideas that I just talked about, then it's really about the human experience that you have with your actual audience, which is not, sometimes we forget it, I think, in advertising, that we think our audience is our clients, but our actual audience is their clients, people who eventually then buy the stuff. And seeing this so close is not a given, to be honest. Should happen.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it makes me think like it's got some similar traits to slam poetry and standing on a stage, and you kind of are provoking a reaction from the audience.
Yes.
Just further away in the advertising, probably.
I mean, applause is addictive. I think I can attest to that. If you're on a stage or if you're in front of somebody and you do something that sparks a reaction, and a positive one, hopefully, then this is just something that, is so rewarding that you want to.
And let's also talk about like creative leadership. And from when you started out, you're very hands-on. You're into every project from intern to now as an executive creative director. Like, how is that shift? And also, what's your perspective on creative leadership?
You mean the shift of my distance or closeness to the projects, from being the one who wrote just the copy for a mailing to now being the one that's kind of has to steer the people that do the actual work?
Yes, I think that's interesting. Like,
yeah. That was really difficult. I think the switch from creative director to executive is one that is pretty underestimated, because it's really the first time when you have to let go. I mean, there was the one time I worked in an agency for a year where I had a pretty decent seat and a desk and could look outside a window, and on the opposite side there was a graffiti wall, and on that graffiti wall there was a Lego logo, but it did not say Lego, it said let go. So for a year, every day I came to work, I looked at this graffiti that said let go, and I think this sums it up pretty well. Letting go, and not being able to control everything anymore of one project. That's really difficult, because it requires trust, and I think that that was the hardest part. you still have to be hands-on for several reasons, not only and I personally do not believe that can do it better than my creative directors when it comes to very specific projects, right? I mean, it's their job to do this and they do it very well. But you have to trust them. That's the biggest thing. And have to let to do them their work. But to come back to it, I think it's very important to still be hands-on, because otherwise you can lose connection on how things are really going. And it's difficult, I think, to assess people's not only performance, but also their creative output if you are not, in the weeds every now and again. Apart from the fact that it's fun, right? And that it's cool to do projects and to do productions and to come up with the ideas and do all of that. And I wouldn't want to let go of that at no time, because it's just such a vital part of myself to be able to do that. But I mean, we talked about like memories before, so why not go again there? There was one moment that's very long time ago when Google Street View was very new. Again, I feel very old now when I say it, but it was very new back then. And I went into a creative review with our creative director, and the senior team had an idea with Google Street View, and we also had an idea with Google Street View. And when we left his office, I just heard him say, a little bit too loud, I think he did not want to say it that loud, but he said it loud enough that I could hear, I should really get into that Google Street View stuff. And then I realized that he had no idea what we were talking about, because he did not know what Street View was at the time, at least not enough to really review it. And you do not want to be that person in a creative review judging stuff that you do not understand. And I think in order to understand it, you just have to be as close to the process and to what is happening now as possible. And that requires you to be in constant communication with people, be in constant processes, understand how processes work, and just make sure that you have like a network of knowledge that gives you the latest news on stuff, right? You cannot be the last one to know how TikTok works if it's your job to, lead the creative department. That's not working. Also, you lose a lot of respect with the younger creatives if they tell you how the world works and you have no idea how to judge it because you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, there's definitely an element to like keeping up, especially now with technology and all the new platforms but also like, what are you looking for when you're creating a creative team or a department? Like you mentioned, trust is important, but what qualities and personalities do you want in your team?
I generally, I mean, this could be now like I hope this will not be like a buzzword marathon right now, but I think I can pin it down to a few words. I think that my general ambition is to create an environment that is human and ambitious, right? You want to create the best work you can. You really want to exceed expectations with your work and just deliver great stuff. But we want to do it in a way that we are really human, that we like each other. Being nice. It's so simple, but it is something that you forget sometimes what it actually means in detail, what it means to be honest and create trust, and to be vulnerable at times, and to I don't know, small things like confessing to mistakes, and just not taking stuff too personal and all these kind. This is like the general environment that I want to help creating. And when it comes to specific people, to individuals, I personally would choose the creative system over creative individuals any day of the week, twice on a Sunday if you want. I mean, every system needs to have creative individuals, but even though I grew up in an industry where they still had the notion of the creative rock star, the insane creative that just also can be a nasty person, but never mind, he still delivers creative genius work. I do not believe in that at all. I think just create a system that works with people that like to see each other every day in and day out, and push them as much as you can without overpacing. Obviously, you don't want anybody to kind of crash with ambition as much as you can. And but in order to do that, you need to have this idea of what the character is that you want to see in people. And talent obviously is a given. You cannot say something like you want to have talented people, because everybody who gets to this place to be in talks to be part of a creative team needs to have talent anyway. That's absolutely clear. But apart from that, I think we can all agree that when we talk about ambitious creative systems, then you need to have grit. I think that it is fair to say that not everybody has to agree to work more in an industry if they don't want to, but it's of course also very clear that this has probably some limits to it. And especially, this also from a production perspective, right? When a really, really cool, ambitious project is on the table, then goodbye 9 to 5. I mean, that's done, because you really want to do it. And it's not like the peer pressure or anything like that. Is for true creative, that's almost like an addiction to creative problem solving. We want to do it no matter what. You have to be careful with this, of course, because you can overstretch it. But yeah, grit is very important. I think you have to be able to push through also when it's hard. You have many, many difficult situations. It doesn't matter if it's a difficult client or if it's suddenly raining on production day, right? You just have to kind of find a way to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I find quite important is impulse control. I think especially now, it's important to have passionate creatives and to let their emotions also be part of their work. But we have to be careful of not doing things or taking decisions because they are led by our emotions sometimes, right? You have to be clear here. You cannot prefer or disregard somebody or something just because you like it a little better, so to speak, right? So don't let your emotions cloud your judgment, I think is a sentence that fits quite well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that doesn't mean that anybody has to suppress their feelings or emotions. Quite the contrary, right? We need passion, but we also need to know when it's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that I really like is some sort of self-awareness. I think it's absolutely important that if you are good at something, that you are aware that you are good at something. It's balance still, right? Because you can, don't try to be arrogant. You're not the greatest person on the planet, but I think it does something to you and your performance and how you present yourself and how you work if you actually believe in yourself and your abilities. And I see this with so many people that are really good at something, but it seems that they are not aware of it. And when you tell them, hey, you're really good at it, that's amazing, good job. This seems to be like your perfect talent. They're just like, what, me? What, really? I never knew that. How did this happen? No one ever told me this before. And I think if you just have that kind of vibe to you, that just gives you confidence and some sort of energy. And I think if all this comes together, right, the human and the ambitious on top, and then the layer beneath of these three characteristics, which, by the way, to be also very transparent here, do not come from me. I just heard this in one podcast, or I saw it in a YouTube video and was like, God damn it. I was finding myself and my approach in these three words. So no copyright here, but I stole this too from somebody, but I think it's correct. I like that.
Yeah, and let's go over to the industry in general. There's a lot of things going on, and I feel like it's changing faster than ever. What challenges do you think we're gonna see, like in this industry, in 2025 and going into the future?
That's the prophecy question, right? I mean, I think it's safe to say that no matter who you ask this question, nobody knows really. And I also know will not pretend that I will know what happened, because I don't. Nobody really knows. There are some assumptions that you can make and some feelings that you can have about some things, and I think there are also certain clear ways that that are here. But I mean, to no surprise, of course, artificial intelligence will keep influencing our work more and more. I think we all have to be aware of the fact that the world will not change, but it already has changed, right? We are currently, we're just adapting. I'm a little bit worried sometimes that the things change too fast for humans to actually adapt. I mean, humans, individuals are not so fast like innovation is. Right? Innovation is faster than humans can adapt to it. So we're a little bit behind, so to speak. While everything has already changed, I think we also have to adapt to it. Um, but at the same time, I hear people saying that these LLMs are already plateauing. So I also don't know what this means. I just heard the other day some tech executive, some big name out of the industry saying that AGI will be here faster than we thought, but it will have less impact than we expected. And I personally I don't know what to make of this right now, because yesterday you told me that this is the revolution, and today they are talking about plateauing. But you cannot close your eyes in front of it, and I think it's pretty much stupid to try to conserve the world that is already gone. I mean, the era in which I grew up in this industry is over, done. But it will change more, and it will keep changing. Also because this is the way of the world, obviously, right? I mean, everything keeps moving constantly, and we as creatives should be intelligent enough to be able to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think a lot of output, a lot of ways of working, the pace will probably change too. But other than that, who knows what the media will bring? I mean, we could assume that the age of vertical video will stay for a while, but who knows? I mean, Clubhouse didn't really work, but who knows what the next big thing will be, or if maybe at some point we will all go back to watching, I don't know, TV again, because because this is also a little bit of a movement that seems to happen right now. That I mean, Netflix has ads, and I just heard the other day that you now can have a feature. I have not tried it myself, that simulates the zapping from the 90s on TV. So it just something pops up that you did not plan to watch anyway, and then it's almost like back in the day. Who knows where this will go? I just think that as a creative industry, we have to embrace flexibility and being adaptive, and being able to adapt as much as we can, and stop kind of trying to pretend that but this is how we always did it. We will not change.
Mm-hmm.
This is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we're actually going towards the end. I see the time is flying, and it's been a pleasure, Patrick. And is there anything
Likewise.
you'd like to add towards the end?
Maybe because the thing that we just had about what might change in the industry, because I think just some certain things as creators will not change, and this is the way that you come up with ideas. I mean, maybe there's a future in which artificial intelligence will do everything, but I personally use my AI tools also more like brainstorm partners. I think that this intuitive notion of a creative to just walk around the world, seeing something, and then saying, hey, this is interesting, but not for what it is, but for what it could be, and then doing some creative stuff out of it. I think this will not necessarily change. I think we have to become a little bit more business savvy as creatives, right? So I think this is something that is very important. But yeah, as long as there are humans, creativity will have a little bit of magic. I mean, no matter how much data or neuroscience you throw at it, I think there's just this little teeny tiny bit of magic will always remain. And it will keep making advertising as a creative exciting, because no matter what you work on, you will never know if it connects until it's published. And only then you will know if it's magic or not. And if we can keep that magic a little bit and not forget it, then I think there's still a place for still a place. That sounds a little bit like dystopian. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that it will go away, but I think that it's important to remind ourselves that within all that technology and all that innovation and everything that changes, that this little bit of magic still will remain.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to to end the conversation, thank you,
Yes.
Patrick. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely likewise. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.